Hello, good day everyone. Welcome to our discussion for IT12. This will be our fourth topic, which is function. This will be the expected learning outcome for this topic. So in C programming, we can divide a large program into the basic building blocks known as function. So the function contains a set of programming statements enclosed by open and close curly braces, just like our control structure statements. Function can be called multiple times to provide our usability and modularity to the program. In other words, we can say that the collection of functions creates an entire program that has different functions that allow different operations, or it executes different performance. The function is also known as a procedure or subroutine in other programming language and in other programming languages because again it can do as what is as how it is defined in your program. And we have here a simple analogy of a function so that you can better understand. So we have here this gray na enclosure, assuming this is a calculator program. And then inside our calculator program, it can do addition, it can do subtraction, it can do multiplication and division, and operations depending on set of variables that we try to calculate, but then we no longer have to manually indicate katong operators bitaw, arithmetic operators every time we try to compute a set of variables in our program. We just have to create a function that automatically performs addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division for us or for our variable, so that ang tawagon na lang nato is ang pangalan na lang sa function, and we no longer have to create katong tag-as kinaline to perform arithmetic operations. Of course, our function needs an input from the main program, which is kani atong calculator na program. So it requires an input to be able to perform kung unsa ang buhaton dinhi sa ato ang function kanina mga functions nato kaning ato ang arithmetic operators. Let's assume nga these are different functions that can do such kung unsa ang ilang label. And then also there are functions that has return types. I mean that can return value, but there are also functions that cannot return value. It can only store kung unsa ang value that is being performed inside the function na block. Just like we have a return data type na void, it cannot return data. So instead, it only stores ang data within sa iyang function. And then we also have a integer type na return type of our functions that can return integer values nga gi-manipulate or gi-operate within the function. And then we also have advantages for using functions. By using functions, we can avoid rewriting same logic or code again and again in a program. So that's why we can reuse those specific codes, block of codes na lang or functions every time na we want this exact performance or kung saan ability ani na function. We just have to call the name of the function to perform kung sa to na ability ang iyang mabuhat sa function. We can call functions any number of times in a program and from any place in a program, whether outside siya sa ato ang main function or within the function itself. Pwede pod na we can do that. We can also track large C program easily when it is divided into multiple functions, can debug easily as sa dapit nagka-problem with our execution sa code. And because of reusability and modularity of the program, it promotes code optimization again, so that we don't have to rewrite codes that can contribute to our memory consumption. So that's why it helps with optimization of our codes as well. So we have aspects of a function. We have a function declaration. This is how you declare a function. First, you have to identify or you have to indicate kung saan return type of the function. If naa siya, can have integer, float, or can have void na a return type which does not basically return a value, just stores the value. And then inyong function name, make sure na inyong function name is it gives an idea of what the function does, kung saan i-perform, kung saan definition sa function. So it's better na yung function name kay dool lang sa iyahang ability. And then we can also have parameter within our functions, or we can just leave um, functions na walay parameter. The use of parameter, kaano siya, this is used when we expect input from the users sa atong function. Let's say atong function kay again kadtong maka-add og numbers. So, if user input ato ang data or number, he can have a parameter, although si parameter kay it limits the number of times na pwede maka-input si user. I mean, ang number of integers na pwede ma-add or ma-input ni user, magdepende siya sa size sa imong parameter. Let's say, 3 lang imong parameters diri or arguments. Same lang na sila ang parameter or arguments. So those are local variables for your function na that will be used within the definition sa ato ang body na function. We also have function call. This is how we can call a function. Of course, a function name and then parent close and open parenthesis, open and close parentheses, and then napadapat ni siya ito ang ending na semicolon for your line. You can also have na parameter na function again. So if na parameter inyong function definition, make sure na pagtawag niya is napod siya parameter, because it will not work if dinhi sa inyong function call wala siya parameter, but then sa inyong function declaration na siya parameter or na siya arguments. And then this is how you define a function. So again, function declaration, return type, function name, and then you can have the parameter, or you can uh, opt out for the parameter, and then open and close na curly braces, and then the body of your function. So this is where you'll be describing what the function does. Describing ha katong i-define ninyo ang program kung unsa ang iyang buhaton sa function. Maybe this can add numbers, kaya siya na function, or katong it can subtract, it can divide. Kaya para function name na lang inyong tawagon every time na gusto mo mag-add og values sa inyong variables. And then we have two types of function, library function. These are katong mga predefined functions that are already available in C na program, built-in na siya, or those functions that are included in your header files, such as kato atong scanf na function. So this is a function, this is a built-in na function. And then printf is also a built-in na function sa atong library na katong stdio.h. You can also create your own functions, or you can also create your library of functions pero outside na siya sa ato ang lesson. Can try to learn on that on your own. Dili lang man siya, can just store them in a file. And then we also have our user-defined functions. So these are the functions na katong you have to manually define within the body sa inyong program kaya para ma-reuse niyo siya within the body of the or within the body of the program or with another na program file. You can do that uh, later on sa inyong next subjects, maybe next semester or uh, uh, succeeding years. If ang padayon mo, you'll be learning how to um, use functions from different functions. So you can learn that in OOP ninyo na subject. And then we also have two ways to call functions. Now you can call functions by value. So when we call functions by value, meaning kung unsa ang value mismo sa variable ang atong gitawag. So let's say gimanipulate siya within before siya gitawag, I mean pag i-manipulate niyo ang code, I mean ang value sa function, let's say gimanipulate ninyo ang value ni, let's say namoy two ka values, you have num1 and num2, and then si num1 pag tawag niyo sa function gimanipulate niyo siya within the function, but the value lang ang inyohang gimanipulate. Pagbalik nga niya sa iyahang main nga function na destroy na tong inyo ang value nga gi-manipulate within the function, so dili na to siya magamit applicable lang to siya within inside the function. So that's why we have here graphic illustration that will help you better understand. So let's say we have this one na tong variable that has, we have variable cup that has a value na let's say zero na value from the main nato na function, and then w- natay function na fill cup. So what it does is it manipulates ang value sa ato ang cup. So na siya let's say gibutangan niya og value, gimanipulate niya ang value, gisudlan niya og value si cup. So makita ninyo din na naisulod si cup, but then because ang value lang applicable lang ang value within this function, that's why wala pod na fill, wala na manipulate ang value ni cup from our main function. So pag tawagon ni balik ang value sa variable nato na cup from fill cup na function into our main function, ma-destroy lang siya kay na naman tay existing na cup na variable, and then dili man sila sync. So dili man dili man, wala man naka-reference ang ato ang pag-manipulate sa a variable, value sa variable. So that's how call by value works. And then we also have, or pass by value works, and then we also have um, pass by reference. So let's say pass niyo ang value through references. Uh, let's say kadto bitawng we also have cup, let's say same lang na logic or same lang na variable. We also have cup na variable, and then naputay cup din hina value. So pag tawagon na to si cup by its reference, let's say ang gusto nako tawagon kay si cup gyud mismo from this na variable from this main na function, and then siya akong i-manipulate dinhi sa akong fill cup na function na ako'y gihimo na function that manipulates the data or ang value ni cup na variable. So pag i-manipulate nako si cup na variable, ang unsa ang iyang sulod data, ma-update pod ang iyahang value from the main na function, unlike dinhi sa pass by value nga ang value lang akong gi-manipulate dili si cup mismo. So that's how a call by value, or call by reference, or pass by value and pass by reference works. So let me show you an example, a basic example of how you can create a function in C. So again, we have our header. Actually, int main is already a function. This is one of our function. This is our main function where we can meron siya og home page kibali sa ato ang program, where we can perform multiple operations that will go back to this main nga function. Let's say atong buhaton na function is calculator. Atong buhaton na program is calculator. So we'll be declaring numbers or variables to manipulate. So we have 4 and then num2 which is equals to 6. And then, di ba, previously to add of numbers, we do this num2, num1, and then num2. And then store na to siya into another variable kana, 'di ba? And then I have pa nito i-print si result. So to help um reuse our code para din ta magbalik-balik og 'di ba pag mag-add na pud ta og another number kay let's say na napud tay number na num3 7 and then num4 equals to 0. So let's say pag mag-add na pud ta og num3 og 4, mag-create na pud ta og another variable that will store kung unsa ang resulting ani na value na to pag i-add na to siya. So to avoid that one para dili na kay taas atong code, samot na kung daghan kitag numbers na i-add or kapila na to gamiton ng pag-add and pag-subtract na operation. So you can create a function. This is our return type int. And then let's say our function name is add. And then wala lang sa type parameter for this start basic na function. So since naani siya ay return type which is int, so expected na dapat mo return ni siya og value nga of the same data type which is int po dapat. So we can have return directly, you can just return, let's say, itong i-add ni tanan na numbers, kana sila from 1 to 4. Return num1, num2 plus num3 plus num4. Kana siya. And then, dito sa atong main, mag-print sa ato ang, or magtawag sa atong function. So let's say, can do this add. But then, wala man tayo print din so we can do print sum and then add, can do that. Okay, let's see if mo tama ba siya. It should print sum na value 17. Wait, naa tayo problem. Wait lang ha. Sa iyang indicate. Ay, wait lang. Kani siya kay declare na to sa locally sa atong main na function. So dili siya matawag daw ni add na function. So we have to declare this variable globally na ma-access siya ni add na function. So we can declare that globally here para ma-access siya both ni main o ni add na function. Prints. Uy, wala lagi sulod. Wait lang, wala day tay percent %d. Okay, so 17 na ang result sa to ang um, function na call which is to add kadto ang value of our variables. Kana siya. Actually kanila ang nag-add hagi print lang line na to kung sa a result ni add na function. And then we can also further this one subtract or pwede pod, sige, subtract sa ta. Subtract, ah, copy lang na to ni siya. Then, itong operations, kay ito yung siyang ilahi. Depending sa gusto nato na buhaton sa atong function. So, since we want this function to be able to subtract, so, kana and multiply and divide. Divide. As you notice, lahi na ang pangalan natong function. So, dapat kay tawagon po nato sila isa-isa. We can have that sa add. Can also have print sa ato ang subtract na function, difference. And then, we have our product, which is operated by our multiply na function. Again, this is how you call a function, na function name, and then kaning iyahang open and close na curly brace. Divide, quotient. Okay. Wait lang. Oh, lagi si quotients. Wait lang na ba? Divide. Ay, wait. Okay, ang values kay ay na lang num1 og sige, increment na lang nato ni siya. Let's say itong game manipulate. Within this function, game manipulate na to ang values for our variable. Let's say si num1 kay plus equals to 10 na siya. Ay si num ko na lang num4 is equals to 20. I-update na to ang value ni num4 in this function. And then, sa pa kulang B, wait lang. New line. Okay. So, this is how your program should look like if based na sa katuang gi-perform na functions din hiya.